today we're going to talk about church. And we start by standing in a real live one in Boise, Idaho, a place where a lot of people go. And that's how we've been taught to think about church, as a place. God's house, we call it. But isn't that a little bit suspicious? We locate God in a certain place and time and then come to visit God, wave, say hello, exalt Him, and then go home to our daily lives. And the higher we lift up God in this place and the more firmly we cement God here, the farther away God is from our everyday. That's the implicit contract we've built between us and God through the church. We will call you good and lift you up. We'll even be pretty good ourselves, coming to visit you and doing good things, as long as you stay here and don't follow us home. Holy stuff happens in a church. We get to own the whole rest of our lives. Now, God is in churches, but God is also outside in the world every day. And a church isn't meant to contain God. A church is meant to help us perceive God and how God is at work in all of our lives. A good church doesn't try to bring or dispense God. Instead, it helps us see God among us. Now, we do experience God in particular ways in a faith community, through word and sacrament and prayer. But the motion of those isn't inward and upward. Instead, those are God coming to us in specific ways and through us to the world. God's presence among us in those ways does not deny God's presence out in the world elsewhere. Instead, it helps us to see it. We run into an issue, though. Each of us can only see God with our own eyes. Our upbringing, our cultural heritage, our biases and opinions, these can be great blessings, but also great limitations. Think of God streaming through our world like a beam of light. Each one of us is a prism that bends that light in a certain way depending on how we see it and who we are. That's great unless we only see one color and mistake the color of it for the actual light. In order to perceive the light rightly, we need to bring those prisms back together, get them pointed in the same direction so the light that comes out of them blends together and becomes like the original. That's what a community of faith is for. We see and reflect very different flavors of God, and we only get the whole thing when we come together. Perspective is a funny thing. Human reality isn't just determined by what we're viewing, but the angle and distance we're viewing it at. To expand our vision of God, we need a bigger perspective. Active. For that, we need other people. They help us conceive of possibilities we never could ourselves. Otherwise, the only God we end up knowing is the God who thinks just like us. At that point, we don't know God at all, just ourselves. Church then becomes the way we hear and wrestle with God's word and God's call for our lives. This happens when we do churchy stuff like read the Bible or share sacraments, but it also happens as we talk and process through our lives and our thoughts about faith with each other. And that processing, that learning about God never comes to an end. There's always something new to discover and something new to share with each other. So we're here with Trish.
Hello.
She helps out with our videos, and we have brought along gallons of boba tea.
All right, so got to give this one a try.
All right. You like this one?
Mm-hmm. It's wonderful.
Oh, that is really good. Here, you try this one.
Okay.
That's my fave. Nice.
Oh yeah, that's it. Mango bango.
Excellent. Kind of like church, right?
You know, just same boba, different flavors, better experience.
It's exactly what we're going for. And I promise you, we did not do this scene just to scam 10 boba teas from the church.
You're lying.
I'm lying, but the point still stands. You can see how this is a little bit different than the church we've been taught about. Belonging to a community of faith shouldn't mean having to believe the same things all the time. Otherwise, how do we grow? And it certainly doesn't mean being free from all doubt. Without questions, how do we perceive anything but ourselves? The word for spirit in the Bible is the same as the word for wind or breath. Inspiration, then, is simply breathing in and breathing out God's Spirit. That's what we do together as a church, not just when we're explicitly being people of faith, but everywhere with everyone as seamlessly as breathing in and out. We don't ask whether God is present in a given place or situation. Instead, we ask how and where and what's being changed by God in this moment. And that's how we begin to see God in the world and our purpose in it as well. At the end of the day, think of the church like a water slide. When we hear the word, it bubbles up underneath us. That's like we're at the top of the slide. But we don't just sit there. The Spirit pushes us down through our week, through twists and turns that we don't control, that we never expected. But that's the ride, and it can be interesting, exhilarating, sometimes scary, but overall pretty fun. And then at the end of the week, we climb back again to the top to experience the Word and the ride all over again. That's what a church is for. That's what we do together. We're glad that you're considering riding with us. We think you will find great joy in it as we do. We know that there are probably 1,000 questions that we didn't answer in these videos. If you have some, or if you just want to say hello, come on into the message boards. We will be there for you, and whatever you want to ask or say, it's okay. For Light of the Spirit Church, I am Pastor Dave, and we will see you again very soon.